Another source of imagery with a bit more of a European focus is SentinelHub. If we actually click on it, we can load up a little bit of information upon the Sentinel series, which is the sort of newer European Landsat equivalent program. So there's a little bit more information about the different satellites here. If you actually do want to get imagery, you would actually go to the EO browser, which opens up a window that looks pretty similar to the Earth Explorer, and it's the same sort of features, so you can sort of look globally around. And for instance, if I wanted to get Landsat imagery, I could learn more about the satellite here. I could click on and I could see what particular data set. Some of it is by the USGS archive, so that is the processing of Landsat based upon the USGS, although ESA, the European Space Agency, has its own archive. So you see a little bit slightly different list of sensors here, not quite as developed, but they have things like MODIS, which is your fairly large 250-meter global coverage system. And then they also have their flagship, which is the Sentinel program. So Sentinel is actually higher spatial resolution than Landsat. It can actually go down to as low as 10 meters. And because it's actually using a pair of satellites, the revision time is actually down to 5 days. The only downside is that it's only been going on since 2015 or so. And full global coverage since 2017. So it's a little bit less developed overall. But let's say we wanted to look around the London area. We could do an advanced search for, let's say, atmospherically corrected, which is probably what we want, and low cloud cover. And I could simply click on a marker, or I could click on a particular area, and I could do a search based upon anything that falls in this particular region, which should encompass Windsor Castle around London. I could do my time range. In fact, I'm just going to do a basic search. Now, I do find that for some reason, the images, it gets a list of really odd ones around the particular region. So just sort of note that I've been encountering a bit of a weird problem. So even if we sort of open up our search criteria, for some reason it seems to be cutting off some of the images except for this part. So just sort of be aware of that. Seems to be something that's odd that's going on here. But for instance, you could click on one of these images and do the exact same sort of thing. I'm actually going to go back because that's actually not the best version of it. But if we actually do, let's try this one. Oops. Discover. Let's actually go and try. No, too cloudy. Too cloudy. All right, these ones might not be too bad. If you do a visualization, you can kind of see, you can kind of see the imagery. Note that it still has quite a bit of cloud cover overall, but one of the neat things about the Sentinel Earth observation browser is that you could show the data in different sort of versions. So if you want to take a preview and look at it in false color, you can get a sense of it. You can get a sense of its NDVI, the overall amount of vegetation. Obviously, the cloud cover is still affecting this NDVI value. Same probably with this moisture map as well, but at least it gives you some insight into the data itself. And again, to download it, I believe you can sign up free to download everything that you could want. There are some additional features, like it allows you to do a time-lapse video based upon the area. You can do a 3D time-lapse, 3D terrain. So there's a little bit more features here, but still a little bit weaker in terms of getting at some of that data. Try doing a place marker and see if that comes up with a bit more. Yeah, it seems a bit odd to me. It's not working for me right now. There is something else called Sentinel Playground. It might be a bit more up to working. Again, it's got a very similar sort of interface. The best part about it is that when you do sort of zoom on out, it does try to get you a combined image stack showing you different sorts of images that are present. So there are some ability for you to do a little bit of like searching and rendering around here with apparently what some of the best available sort of images. So, there's some options that you can look into here. I think this is actually scheduling it out per day. So this does show you, per each individual day what all the image swatches are. So this has got to be a composite for this particular day here. So that actually can be useful for estimating, basically, if you want to look up a particular region, let's say middle of June, for example, and look up, let's say, the vegetation index. So how much vegetation, is there basically in this particular region at this particular day. It's probably a pretty reasonable sort of image. There are these striations, which aren't great, but for our purposes, since we're not going to do a perfect processing, it probably is going to work pretty reasonably well. Okay. So check out SentinelHub for your European Space Agency needs.